Okay, we found a land with two hands. It has a Phyrexian Rager and removal spells. We're on the draw, so I'm going to keep and hope we find a land. Okay, our opponents played Island Preordain. So that probably means that they're on one of the blue fairy decks. Could be Skred, could be Dimir. Okay, so we found our third swamp. Just gonna do land go. Okay. Suffocating Fumes can be very good in the blue matchups. They can play a lot of 1/1s, so we might hold on to that instead of cycling. Thriving Isle for white. That's curious. Not too sure what this could mean. I think in that case I am going to cycle the Suffocating Fumes. Okay, we find Sign in Blood, very good. We're going to put out a Phyrexian Rager, and if this resolves and we draw land next turn, we could potentially ninjutsu and get some more value. We are flush with removal spells, and they haven't played a single creature. It's another white land, and they're tapping that for... Okay, there we go. Okay, we know what this is. This is the Familiars deck. They play Karoo lands. Okay. Let's see how far they can go with without any mana advantage. I mean, besides... how to put this. Their lands only produce 1 mana. Their spells are reduced by 1 with the Sunscape Familiar, but the lands are only producing 1 mana apiece, so the snap can get much, much better when it's untapping Karoo lands, for example. Let's see if we draw that land. We do not. Okay, so I'm thinking I'm going to want to definitely remove the Sunscape Familiar, and I can remove the Oracle as well. That means I won't be able to Sign in Blood. So one of the other things that we could do is Sign in Blood ourselves and try and find a land. We're already at 9 cards in hand. I'd like to just cast 2 cards, put ourselves to 7. We don't have to discard anything. In that case, I would have to use the Chainer's Edict, and I can defile whichever one is left over. Doesn't matter the order, but I'm going to make them sweat out the choice. I imagine they'll sacrifice Oracle, and then we'll defile the Sunscape Familiar. Four mana for Deep Analysis. They'll draw 2 cards, and that card has flashback. So they can draw a lot of cards. And we do find a land here. Excellent. Curious if we should play the Sign in Blood here. I'm leaning towards just putting the Phyrexian Rager back in play. If we Sign in Blood, we could end up discarding. We find another land. Excellent. Going to be looking for Bojuka Bog. Another Sunscape Familiar, and we do not have the removal spell up. Oh, that's interesting. So that's going to gain them a lot of life over the course of a game, if, you know, it survived. We have no plays, but we'll have something to do on our turn. Oh, and we get a Bone Picker. Oh, this is so excellent. So with 5 mana and 2 removal spells, we'll be able to take out both their creatures and play a Bone Picker. I'm wondering if I need to kill the God Pharaoh's Faithful. I think I do. We'll just get rid of both of them. Okay, so a blue mana. I'm not sure what this could mean. They're going to counter my spell. Okay. That means I get to kill one of them, and I'll choose the Sunscape Familiar. Feeling pretty good about the removal heavy hand now. With 1 mana up, I'm wondering if we want to threaten with the Rager. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't. They might be scared of a Disfigure here, which is something this deck can play. No fear on their side. So they'll just bounce, and I'll play this flyer. So next turn we're going to be looking at either Grey Merchant, but more likely the Okiba-Gang Shinobi. If this connects with a player, they'll discard 2 cards. And while it will have trouble connecting a second time, the first hit is free with the ninjutsu, or I say free, really it costs 4 mana. Echoing Decay isn't going to do too much this turn, but it could do quite a bit next turn if they block the Okiba-Gang Shinobi and the Rager with their 2 creatures. We can finish them both off with Decay. Okay, so they're tapped out at the moment. And we get Bojuka Bog. A little bit late. I would have liked to have snapped up that Deep Analysis. So let's take just a moment here to decide what we're going to do. Pretty sure I want to get the Okiba-Gang out, and then I'll just play the Bojuka Bog, and I'll hold on to the Sign in Blood for 1 more turn. Now, unfortunately, no creature died this turn, so Bone Picker is full price. I won't be able to cast it. But if I get the creatures with the Echoing Decay next turn, then I'll be able to put the Bone Picker in on the cheap and maybe cast the Grey Merchant on the same turn. No, that's too much mana. So yeah, bit of a mistake there. Should play the Bojuka Bog post-combat. Wasn't thinking. Was not thinking clearly at all. Okay, here's a Muldrifter. That'll resolve. And that can block and trade with either of my creatures. Okay, we find Cast Down. Excellent. So I'm thinking cast down the Muldrifter, attack with both. And hope for the Echoing Decay to catch them off guard. Otherwise, I can Sign in Blood and use Bone Picker. Fantastic. Looks like they're taking the bait. Okay, we'll let them think that they're okay. But wait, Echoing Decay. So we could play the Sign in Blood here and look for a land, or we could play the Bone Picker. I'm leaning towards the Bone Picker. Potentially the Sign in Blood first is the... well, I mean, it's the more greedy play, honestly. Because if I miss the land, then I wouldn't be able to play the Bone Picker. And I want to get the extra creatures down for a clock. This is a really important turn for our opponent. The Okiba-Gang Shinobi is going to be quite the problem for them. Okay, so they do have another wall here. I mean, it's something to trade with the Ninja. but they're nearly tapped out, and Grey Merchant is going to be very strong. So that would be a drain for 6. Okay, so they do have a counterspell available. Prohibit may be a mana leak, so we'll have to be wary of that. Find another Bone Picker. So we don't have enough mana for Chainer's Edict yet. The choice is really between Sign in Blood and Grey Merchant. I would like to Sign in Blood to see if I can find a removal spell for the Muldrifter and test their counterspell. And if we miss that, we can attack in and then play a second Bone Picker. So I will draw the cards. Okay, we do find a land. We're going to play the Grey Merchant before combat. We'll have more devotion, because I'm pretty sure they're going to block the Okiba-Gang. Is this a mana leak? Snap. Okay, they're snapping the Bone Picker back up. That's fine. Oh, and now they have 2 blue on tap, so they could just straight up counterspell. Good play from the opponent. Okay, we'll attack in with the both of them. If we can get the Muldrifter off the table, that means they can't flicker. Okay, so we're going to hit with the Ninja. They're going to have to discard 2 cards. I'm honestly surprised. That must mean that they're going to keep a bounce spell in hand so they can flicker the Muldrifter. It's the only thing that makes sense to me, but I don't know the opponent's deck very well. Okay, there it is, the Ephemerate. And flashing back the Deep Analysis. So they've got a ton of cards again, but they're going to be put in a very similar choice on their next turn. Or not. So we're going to skip our combat. This is a problem. We're going to need a removal spell for that. Land is removal spell. We find another Bone Picker. That's all the Bone Pickers. They are tapped out. We cannot attack. So I think that... Let's see here. We have 7 mana. Okay, we do have enough for Chainer's Edict. Well, let's do that then. Okay, and that's all we can do. We cannot attack, so we'll pass. And they get to rebound on the Muldrifter. Ephemerate is going to put this creature out of play and then return it to play, so they'll be able to draw 2 cards. Very, very strong combo. So now, even though we've hit them with the Okiba-Gang twice, they're back up to 6 cards in hand. And they've gone up to 7 because that was in their upkeep. Okay, so once again, we're going to miss our combat step. And they have a sacrificial creature here with the Oracle, so things are looking grim. We're going to want to build as much of a board as possible so that our Grey Merchant can win the day. Unfortunately, we can only play 1 Bone Picker, and that's going to have to be our turn. Okay, so they're going to be able to start gaining life. And Ghostly Flicker. So this is going to draw them cards, and it means that I cannot attack on my turn. Pretty surprising. The Stonehorn Dignitary's power level for common is shocking. Okay, so we are going to need Crypt Rats. They are tapped out though, so we can hopefully draw Crypt Rats, wipe the board, and go from there. Nope, no Crypt Rats, just Swamp. So we have 9 lands. We have enough for Grey Merchant Bonepicker, which will be a drain of, let's see here, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think that we've just lost the game at this point. The opponent has gotten too much value. We might have stuck around for one more turn to try and draw Crypt Rats, but the opponent would have untapped lands at that point, and they would be able to hold up a counterspell. So I'm just going to move on. Let's see here. Pestilence seems okay. A way to be able to kill their creatures. Wrench Mind might be a way to try and keep their value plan down. Spellbomb seems pretty good. I like most of the cards in my sideboard here. Let's see. I can definitely take out the Witches. They're not going to have any creatures, any X1s, so those can go. The Suffocating Fumes can go. The Echoing Decay, we got lucky with it. They do have some X2s, the Muldrifter. I think that we can do a little bit better with the cards in our sideboard. The Okiba-Gang Shinobi does the kind of thing that I want to do. It takes cards out of their hand. It can actually kill some of their creatures too. 3 power is enough to kill the wall, so they wouldn't be able to block with it. But we have a lot of cards that we want to bring in. Definitely want the Pestilence. I think the Spellbombs would be pretty good. Along with the Bojuka Bogs, might be able to take care of some of their graveyard advantage spells. Question is, do we want something like Wrench Mind, or do we want something with pinpoint accuracy like Duress? I think I'm going to take the Wrench Mind. That puts us up to 60 cards. I don't think there's anything else I want to take out here. So I'm going to submit. Potentially could have taken out a Chainer's Edict. Okay, we've got lands and spells we're going to keep. And we'll start with Swamp Spellbomb. Now the Defile is does not work along with Bojuka Bogs. These don't count as swamps. So for the next couple turns, it looks like my Defile is only going to drain for 1. Find a Bone Picker. We are going to go ahead and play the Bojuka Bog. And we'll pass. If we can get to Thorn of the Black Rose, that can give us as much card advantage as we need. Oh, that's an interesting technique. I hadn't thought of that. You can use the Karoo lands to return Ash Barrens to your hand and use the mana you got from Ash Barrens to do the basic land cycling. Very cool. Okay, we find a Grey Merchant. Would have really liked to have seen a swamp there. Well, I guess we'll play our only land. And we'll pass back. I wonder why they're using the Thriving Isle instead of the game land. That's curious. Okay, we find Okiba-Gang. We actually can't cast any of our spells. We don't have any more lands. This is a very awkward position. We're just going to pass. Okay, they have the Sunscape Familiar, which we cannot kill with our Defile. We will cast a Rager and hope that it resolves. They're 2 mana up, they could definitely do something, but they're going to let it pass. It's not a very threatening creature. Would have liked to land, but Chainer's Edict will do in a pinch. Could potentially Edict into Bone Picker next turn, but I'm sure they're holding some kind of counter magic. Ooh, a second Sunscape Familiar. That's dangerous. They can cast their spells for really cheap. That makes sense that they would let the Rager resolve if they have a snap. Look at how cheap that Mole Drifter was. We're going to be moving on to the next game pretty soon. Cannot find my lands. Well, the Pestilence could be pretty good if we get that to resolve. We can Defile the Mole Drifter, or try to. And if that works, we have Bone Picker. Okay, they've negated it. There's nothing else we can do this turn. We will have to discard a card. I think we'll discard the Phyrexian Rager. It's a card they've seen before. It's not very impressive in this scenario. And what we're really looking to do is get this Pestilence onto the board. Okay, so they're evoking the Mole Drifter, and then they're going to blink it with Ephemerate. Oh, maybe a Ghostly Flicker? Nope. Pick number 3, Snap. They get to untap their lands and keep going. This has got to be a blast to play, because you're just casting spells and drawing cards. Looks pretty fun. Oh, interesting. Using a Mortuary Mire. Okay. I had not expected that, to be certain. And it looks like they're passing. So they have 2 mana up, and their spells cost 2 less, so they could be playing any number of counterspells. We find Sign in Blood. So I'm wondering, they have 6 cards in hand. I don't want to throw the Pestilence down into that. I can't really go for the Thorn of the Black Rose. I think I might just put a Bone Picker into play, or else I think Chainer's Edict first, so that the Bone Pickers would be cheaper if it resolves. Okay, it resolved, so we can throw 2 Bone Pickers into play. Okay, they're going to counterspell the second one, and we'll pass. See if they have a snap for the Bone Picker I have left. They might use the Thriving Isle because maybe they play the Black Storm card that returns creatures equal to the number of spells cast that turn. Surprise! It's a snap. Okay, they're playing the Archaeomancer. We are not going to get any value from the Spellbomb, but I think it's worthwhile. So we'll wait for them to target, and then we'll activate the Spellbomb. So they only have 3 cards left in hand. If they have Ephemerate or Ghostly Flicker, they get to gas back up. Okay, they're evoking a Muldrifter. They still have plenty of mana, but only 1 blue mana left. Okay, it looks like they're passing back. I think this is the turn I'm going to try and sneak the Pestilence onto the board. Let's see what we draw. Find Cast Down. Okay, let's cast Pestilence. Fantastic. We got a counterspell out of them last turn, and now we got Pestilence down onto the board. It's going to be difficult for them to necessarily deal with that. We're going to be able to kill all their creatures, ideally, and put a Bone Picker into play to keep the Pestilence on the board. Okay, they're cycling through their deck pretty quickly. Seagate Oracles are quite nice for replacing themselves. We are going to have to worry about flicker effects because it will reset the damage from Pestilence as well. Okay, let's see here. I would have liked to land there. We'll start by activating Pestilence. I'm just going to see if I can kill some of their creatures. If I can kill the Muldrifter and Archaeomancer, that would be ideal. Now they are pausing here, so they might have a way to save one of their creatures. But I can respond to that with more Pestilence. I might just be... I would like to keep the Pestilence on the board, though. So if possible, I only want to kill Muldrifter or Archaeomancer. But that might not be possible. It looks like they do have a response. They're going to flicker. Okay. So let's use the Pestilence again. They'll be able to flicker the Mortuary Mire and put 1 card back on top of their library. And if our Bone Picker stick around, we might even be able to keep the Pestilence. And pass. Okay, so we kept the Pestilence through that turn. It's a lot of mana. Okay, they're going to draw a bunch of cards. I'm going to be looking to use the Thorn of the Black Rose or the Okiba-Gang Shinobi on my turn. Okay, Echoing Truth, so I will lose the Pestilence. Still no land. We could Sign in Blood for it, but I'd rather play the Thorn of the Black Rose while they can't counter it and start gaining massive amounts of card advantage that way. So we'll have to discard a card Thinking probably the Chainer's Edict. Although Edict is quite good when the field is empty. I have a lot of big mana spells as well. Sign in Blood doesn't look too great when I already have a ton of card advantage and cards I can't cast, so I'm going to discard the Sign in Blood. Okay, they have their Muldrifter, gassing back up. Thorn of the Black Rose attacks through it quite nicely. And land, we found one. Now they have 4 cards in hand and 1 blue source, so they'll be able to counter 1 spell. Chainer's Edict and Cast Down, as well as Bone Picker. That's pretty much what we're going to be doing this turn. I want to get rid of their Muldrifter. And if we even get one of them with a Chainer's Edict, then we can put a Bone Picker down as a blocker, so they cannot take the Monarch. We can attack for 1 safely here. The question becomes, do we want to cast down their Muldrifter? I think it's too risky. They have white available, 4 mana. There's too many options they could have between Counterspell and a Blink. So I'm going to leave the cast down and see if I have an opportunity now to kill it. They only have 1 mana left, so they need exactly Ephemerate. I'm going to try and take the Muldrifter down. And it worked. Okay, the Archaeomancer is quite good for them. Let's see what they choose to pull back. They get the Ghostly Flicker. That's smart. They'll be able to flicker the Archaeomancer and the Mortuary Mire and get more cards. Every time they flicker the Archaeomancer, they can take the flicker out of the graveyard. Okay, so they're going for one of their walls, the Sunscape Familiar, to cheapen their spells. They'll put that on top, and they have Flicker back in hand. Let's see here, we have 5 mana, so we won't be able to flash back the Chainer's Edict. It costs 7. Even if we draw a land, we won't have enough. Looks like we have no way to kill the Archaeomancer, but what we can do... Oh, no, we drew it. Okay. So this is interesting. We could Defile the Archaeomancer and then switch the Thorn of the Black Rose for the Okiba-Gang and make them discard 2 cards. I'm going to give that a try. Okay. So they'll take 6 and discard 2. Feels like a strong attack. I really feel like Bone Picker was the card that this deck was missing. While the Cast Down is a great addition to this deck, the Bone Picker is like a Delver of Secrets, right? 1 mana, 3/2 flyer. And it even has Death Touch, which is pretty nice. This is definitely one of my favorite new cards in Pauper. Okay, so we cannot attack. But they have no flyers, so they can't take the Monarch away yet. Okay, they're going to flicker, so we can't attack for another turn. But we have 2 Grey Merchants, so we'll be able to drain them out that way. Let's see what the Mortuary Mire puts back on top. It's going for the Archaeomancer. Okay. We find Bojuka Bog. Okay. So we'll go ahead and use that. Get rid of their graveyard. And since we can't attack, we'll just put a Grey Merchant down. That's for 3, going to be for 5. So Grey Merchant wins, as long as they don't gain any more life, which they certainly will. But we'll have Crypt Rats for after that. Okay, they conceded with the Grey Merchant. Okay, so that went as well as we can expect. I do like the idea of Duress to be able to see what's in their hand and be able to make decisions on our plays from there. I'm wondering if I can take anything else out to add 1 more Duress into the deck. I wouldn't want to overload on the card. Maybe a Chittering Rats. I don't like playing with any, or rather, I don't like taking any of these cards out. The Chittering Rats is a pretty solid 4 of. We're going to go with this. Okay, so we have 2 lands and Phyrexian Rager. If we draw 1 more land in 3 turns, we should be okay for that. We do have a Cast Down and Crypt Rats, more importantly. Being able to wipe the field is pretty important. So I like this hand quite a bit. We'll keep. Okay, we find Bone Picker, so we'll just play Swamp Pass. And they just go land go. We find our 3rd land. We're going to land go as well. And since we found our 3rd land already, we're going to probably go for the Phyrexian Rager first, unless we draw another land on our turn, another untapped land. I would rather get Thorn of the Black Rose down as fast as possible. I think the card advantage from being the Monarch is going to be the most important advantage we can get, besides maybe being able to sweep the field. Okay, so they've got an Oracle. We can cast it down. It would use all our mana for the turn, so we wouldn't have a wasted turn. It's not a really important target, which is unfortunate, but I like keeping the field clear. And we're not going to be playing Bone Picker on our turn. We're specifically looking at Chittering Rats, because we found the land for the Thorn. We would rather slow them down on a card a turn rather than putting a Bone Picker into play. Okay, they found their white land and were able to play one of their important creatures. But they won't be able to attack with the Sunscape Familiar, so I should be pretty good for a turn, at least, playing the Thorn of the Black Rose. But the Cast Down is a really good draw here. I would actually rather kill the Sunscape Familiar than let them have it, and then I'll be able to play a Bone Picker afterwards. I really want to kill that wall. I think that their deck is far too strong when their mana, when their spells cost even just one less mana. But if they have a second wall here, that would have been backbreaking. Okay, they have a Dignitary, so we won't be attacking. But they also have no counter magic up. So we could play either Crypt Rats or Thorn of the Black Rose. We could play Rager and look for a land. I think I would rather play the Thorn. We'll put this out and see if we can keep the Monarch for a few turns. We find another removal spell. Excellent. Going to be looking for land here. Going to want a bunch of lands before I put a Crypt Rats onto the field. But the most important thing is going to be holding on to this, the Monarch. Okay, they're flickering, which means they're not attacking. It also means we won't be attacking. This is fine. They only have 1 mana left available. So we should be able to defile their Dignitary so that they can't do that again. And the more creatures we have, the fewer creatures they have, the better our Monarch is. We're going to go ahead and start with a Sign in Blood. But we already have 4 swamps, so our Defile will kill. And we get a Duress. Fantastic. So I'm going to Duress, see what they're holding. A bunch of counter spells, but they don't have the mana to play them. I want to take the Prohibit, because that could counter our Crypt Rats. Negate cannot. And we might as well let them keep the Deep Analysis. Okay, we'll Defile the Dignitary. We have no combat step, as I recall. So that's the end of our turn. Okay, they play the God Pharaoh's Faithful that we knew about. They use the Deep Analysis. And they play the land. So we know about 2 of their cards, the Negate and the Snow-Covered Plains. But we have a combat step now. We do have to be careful that they don't do any damage to us. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, so it's not an attacking creature, the God Pharaoh's Faithful will never be able to take the Monarch. That's good to know. No land this time. I'm thinking about playing the Crypt Rats, just putting it onto the field and having the ability to threaten it. But I think that just having an overwhelming board presence is going to be more important. We're going to keep the other 2 creatures back. We'll just throw in with the Bone Picker. The Thorn of the Black Rose could have attacked for 1 extra damage, but the Chittering Rats will just be blocked. No creatures have died, so I think it's a pass from here. Looks like they did not draw land. Well, we know they have a Snow-Covered Plains in hand, so they must be doing something. They're going to keep on gaining life, so I'm going to have to start playing much faster. They're going to just time us out with a clock. Gonna have to play much, much faster now. They have 1.5 minutes on us. Chainer's Edict. Okay, so I'm going to want to Chainer's Edict, Bone Picker, or else... I mean, they have the Negate, so just play the Chittering Rats. They only have 1 creature they can attack and take the Monarch from us. Okay, so they'll take 4. And we could Chainer's Edict and maybe take their negate. And we're just going to auto pass here to try and save time. So they decided to sacrifice a creature. Okay, they got a Sunscape Familiar. And an Archaeomancer. That's quite good for them. What do they take with, what do they return with the Archaeomancer? The Ghostly Flicker. Okay. But they're out of mana. I thought they had another Snow-Covered Plains. I guess not. Okay, their negate is up. So they can negate the Pestilence, but they cannot negate a Crypt Rats. I'm going to want to put Crypt Rats on the board. The only thing that can attack is the Archaeomancer. So let's go to attacks ourselves. And if something goes wrong, we can take the Monarch back with one of these Thorns. Okay, they're just letting it all through. Play Crypt Rats and pass. We find Bojuka Bog. 1 turn off. I would have liked to have that to clear the graveyard, but there's nothing too good in there right now. Okay, they've got another life gainer. On our turn, we could attack, and then Crypt Rats for 5. Seems decent. Do not attack with the Crypt Rats, but otherwise everything can attack. And we get another Bojuka Bog, okay. Attack all, hold the Crypt Rats back. Okay, so Crypt Rats on 1 will kill their Sunscape Familiar. Oh, are they going to flicker now? They're going to flicker the Archaeomancer and the Sunscape Familiar, and they'll gain 3 life. Perhaps I should have just Crypt Rats there and then used the Bojuka Bog. Could have Crypt Rats for 3, which would have wiped the board on my side, which is why I hesitate to do it. Okay, we find a removal spell. Oh, I should have cast the removal spell instead of discarding a card here. Discard Thorn of the Black Rose. I don't think we've caught up much on the time here, unfortunately. Okay, they're casting a Muldrifter. With Evoke on the stack, they're going to try and do some business. And this is where I'm going to activate the Crypt Rats for 4. Okay. If they're not going to do anything else, I'm not going to do anything else. Okay, so I think Bojuka Bog. Then we have 6 mana left. Would have liked to have done Bone Picker and Chittering Rats, but we'll just put the Chittering Rats out. And the Crypt Rats. Then we should be able to attack and activate the Crypt Rats and win the game. That's the plan. Archaeomancer for no value. We can defile that. Okay, they're going to counter our spell. That's fine. We'll attack and then play Bone Picker. Ah, of course. That was a stupid attack on my part. I was trying to play fast. Very foolish. Okay, that's fine. Bone Picker will cost 1 mana, and then we'll play Pestilence. And we'll activate the Pestilence for 1. Losing the Crypt Rats there is pretty painful. Oh, Nature's Chant to get rid of the Pestilence. Good on their part. I should have also activated it once. Okay, they've got a Mole Drifter now. Gas them back up. But we've got gas too. Okay, we'll attack. And if they don't block here, okay, they do. Okay, we'll play the Thorn and pass. I would like to potentially Sign in Blood for the win, but we're not going to hold our breath on that. Perhaps I should have Sign in Blood myself to try and play a Bone Picker. I wasn't thinking. I'm trying to play fast here, so we're definitely going to make some bad plays at the end here. The opponent still has quite a bit of time too. And we have no combat this turn. Okay. Let's see if we can draw Grey Merchant. No luck. We'll play Chittering Rats. And we'll pass. Okay, so again, we miss our attack step. And we find Grey Merchant. No counterspell. Okay, I think we just won. With 47 seconds left on the clock. Okay, and we're playing against elves. So the Crypt Rats is going to be very strong. We're going to want to try and slow them down by using the Defile against a key card, and then letting Crypt Rats sweep the board. Elvish Vanguard, so that's something that we could kill with the Defile, or the Quirion Ranger. Quirion Ranger would also make an excellent target, but the Vanguard is going to grow out of range of our Crypt Rats, so we're just going to take it out now. So they're almost out of cards in hand at this point, and we've taken care of their only serious threat. We're going to have to hope that we can evade a lead the Stampede. Timberwatch Elf, that's a good one for them. We're going to need a removal spell for that. I think that it's fine to put the Crypt Rats onto the board right away. It means that they won't play any further into it, but I don't think they have a way to take it off the board. And if we get another land next turn, then we can kill through Timberwatch Elf. Actually, no, we can't because of the Quirion Ranger. I forgot about that. Quirion Ranger's a pain. I think that we have to activate Crypt Rats for 1, and then wait for them to respawn, and then activate it for 1. Okay, so they're going for maximum damage here. So we're taking a ton of damage, and they're just going to let us kill their elves. We can activate for 1, kill everything, except for the Timberwatch Elf, and then play Bone Picker. And if they respawn, then we can kill the Timberwatch Elf as well. Okay, I'll play Bone Picker and pass. Elvish Mystic. So if they attack, their creature dies. And Chittering Rats to slow them down. Do I attack with Bone Picker here? I kind of feel like I need it back on defense, but I have the Chittering Rats to block if they do attack. Just trying to figure out how I lose this game. Because they have no cards in hand. They probably attack with Elvish Mystic and then activate Timberwatch, which makes it a 3/3. I can play Phyrexian Rager here, so I'll have another blocker, and just keep hitting him in 3 for the air. I find Bojuka Bog, at least get another land on the field. And another untapped land lets me play Grey Merchant. Let's see if I can find one off the top. I do, so I can Grey Merchant on my turn. I think that I want to keep attacking, and I'm going to have to block with a Phyrexian Rager again. Elvish Mystic becomes 3/3. I don't want to go down to 2 life here. Actually, now that I think about it, I could go down to 2 life, because we already know exactly what they have. This is going to do 3 damage to go to 2, and then I play Grey Merchant, and I'll have an extra life from the Phyrexian Rager. I think that's fine. And then if they don't have another creature, we can use the Grey Merchant to block the Mystic quite well. Oh, we get another Grey Merchant. Okay. Zombie Party. And then we'll attack for 5. And next turn we should win. Their best draw right now is probably something Trail. Winding Trail, I think it's called. 2 mana spell, and they can look at the top 5 cards and get to keep all the creatures. I don't think they can even attack here, but we're going to win regardless. So this is going to be for 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can just take it and go to 2. And then play our own Grey Merchant and win. Crypt Rats really saved the day. So this is for lethal. Okay, so what are we going to do against elves? We definitely want the Pestilence. There's no doubt about that. And Suffocating Fumes as well. Now that I'm thinking about it, isn't there a black card that kills creatures and destroys enchantments? We're going to want to be looking at that for the sideboard here. Can't remember if it's common or uncommon. Otherwise, I'm not really a big fan of the rest of these cards. none of them really stand out. So we can take 2 cards out of our deck. Most of our cards are actually going to be quite good in this matchup. The Thorn of the Black Rose is probably one of the weaker cards. And maybe the Okiba-Gang Shinobi, because they're going to be putting all their cards onto the table. We're gonna play this. Okay, we've got 3 lands, 2 removal spells. This is a fine start. We'll keep. And we want to draw Defile here. That would be the best draw. This is excellent. Now, it is possible that they're going to be able to play the 3-mana enchantment that gives all their creatures +0/+1 and reach, and that will nullify my witches. But if they don't do that, then witches are going to take over this game. Okay, Birchlore Rangers, also very good for them. They're going to be able to play out their hand. We're going to play the witches. We want to start getting value from those as soon as possible. And next turn, we'll probably cast a removal spell and use the witches, depending on what they play. Okay, they do have the Spider Silk Armor. That's what I was afraid of. So the witches now do nothing. And a Lead the Stampede, so they're able to gas back up. They only draw 2 cards out of it. It's only a Divination. Could be a lot worse. But the Quirion Ranger and Timberwatch Elf are both excellent cards on their side. We're going to keep the cast down for the Timberwatch Elf. And we'll play Chittering Rats this turn to slow them down. Next turn we could double removal spell if they play the Timberwatch Elf. Something else we can do with the witches is we can block and then activate it and kill something. Or we can activate it end of turn and just ping them for 1. They have access to a lot of mana, but they're going to need... Oh, they made blue mana. That's not good. They're going to draw 5 cards, I think. There's the Distant Melody, and that's actually 6 cards because they played the Timberwatch Elf. So they gas right back up. We're really looking for Pestilence or Crypt Rats at this point. Chainer's Edict doesn't look very attractive, but I think it is going to be necessary evil this turn. We need to cast down the Timberwatch Elf. Okay, and otherwise the only other play we can make is Chainer's Edict, so we're going to make it. They'll probably get rid of the Sylvan Ranger, and we're going to pass the turn. We're going to want to keep Crypt Rats back as a blocker, same with Cuombajj Witches. If they attack, we can kill some of their creatures, so they're just going to stay back. Vanguard, that's a problem. We're going to need another removal spell for that. It's going to have to be a strong one. Going to need a cast down. Defile could potentially work if they stop casting things. Okay, Lead the Stampede. It's going to gas them back up. They got 2 more Vanguards. So we really need Crypt Rats now. Even that is going to be difficult because with multiple Vanguards, they're going to be able to grow quite quickly. Crypt Rats would only be able to do 2 damage to everything, so that Vanguard would still be alive, and it looks like they're tapping for more mana. I would have to be able to survive an attack. So we do get the Defile, we can kill this Vanguard. And then we'll play Chittering Rats. No, stop. Oh my, another Distant Melody. So one of the things that you do have to worry about in this deck is actually decking yourself. I think that's kind of funny. They've cast 2 Distant Melodies and another Spider Silk Armor, so Crypt Rats aren't going to be able to do anything either. And Timberwatch Elf. So this game is basically over. We need removal spell for Timberwatch Elf to even continue playing. And they got the Longbow. Longbow with Quirion Ranger is going to allow them to start doing some interesting tricks. They're going to be able to kill our creatures. Untap with a Quirion Ranger. Or if they have enough mana, they can just switch it over to another creature. So multiple people can pass around the Longbow. Looks like they can attack for 9. No, they're going to make a bunch more mana. I'm going to concede here. We're not going to make them go through all of that. I don't think I actually want to change anything in the sideboard, though. So we're just going to go ahead and submit right away. Yes, I would like to play first. No land, mulligan. So we've got lands and removal spells we'll keep. As for what to throw away, I'm leaning towards the Chittering Rats or the Bojuka Bog. I'm going to get rid of the rats. I can play the Bog first turn. And that way I'll know I'll have 2 mana on turn 2 and 3 mana on turn 3. Should be able to Chainer's Edict. No, they're not making a play. Interesting. Okay, I'll just pass as well. Well-Wisher, we'll Chainer's Edict that into Bone Picker. Okay, so they're gassing up. They already had 5 cards in hand, but they're gassing up. That is curious. They're going to discard a bunch of cards. What are they doing? What do they have in hand? They discard 2 forests. Okay, so they're just loaded up. They were flooded. So we draw a removal spell. I'm thinking we're going to Sign in Blood. See if we can find a land. We do. And we have 2 removal spells ready to go. Okay, they play Vanguard. We're going to Defile that. And they'll be able to return a forest so they can play another card. Probably play Birchlore Rangers. Okay, we have to decide if we want to kill any of those. I would like to kill both of them, actually. But neither of them are must kills. It does mean that I can't really play the Thorn of the Black Rose, because they would be able to take the Monarch. But I would be able to take it back every turn. That's curious. Maybe I should. Because they don't have any flyers. But if they give their creatures reach, they would be able to block. I know it's a huge risk playing the Thorn of the Black Rose here. That could have been just an enormous mistake. But I'm fairly confident that I'll be able to get the Monarch back on my turn. And if they're tapping one of these creatures... interesting. I wonder. Are they going to risk attacking with these creatures, which are so important? Okay, so we have targets now for the Defile and Cast Down. Will they sacrifice a creature to take the Monarch? They will. Okay, so we have to choose between Birchlore Rangers and Quirion Rangers, which one to kill. They already have another Quirion Ranger, so I'm going to block the Birchlore. Okay, so they'll draw an extra card, and we'll draw an extra card on the end of our turn too. Okay, so we get up to 5 here. I do want to kill both of these while they're in range. But maybe I only kill one of them. Bojuka Bog. Not great. What do they have here? Quirion Ranger, so they're going to go up to 4 mana. Ah, the Huntsman. That must die. Okay, so let's probably block the Vanguard and then cast down the Huntmaster. Okay, we'll try and win on our next turn. If we can hit with Bone Picker, it'll be a little bit easier, but even just hitting with Grey Merchant should be enough. Okay, so they have the Spider Silk Armor, which gives their creatures reach, but they did not gain any life, and they have not removed any of my creatures. So I'll be able to play Grey Merchant and win the game. Alright, this is why we play it. GG. 1 land hand. Even on the draw with Sign and Blood, we're going to mulligan this. Again, another 1 land hand. We have to mulligan. Okay, we've got plenty of lands we're going to keep. We'll get rid of 1 of the lands and 1 of the rats. So our opponent got to keep all their cards, and they're playing one of the snow-covered island decks. We don't know yet if it's Dimir or Izzet. But starting on the back foot against those decks is not where you want to be. Card advantage is very important. If we're able to keep the Monarch, for example, that'll be a game over for them. Okay, Snuff Out is gone to their hand. That's a dead card. And we get Sign and Blood, so we're going to be able to bounce back a little bit from our mulligan. And the Chittering Rats will help with that as well. They do have Counterspell up. But if we get a Counterspell with our Chittering Rats, we're fine with that. Yep, that's fine. Counterspell is one of the best cards in Magic, so trading Chittering Rats for it is a-okay. And Feldon is respecting the power of Chittering Rats. I'm sure they've played against MonoBlack control before. Okay, they're playing the Fairy Seer. That thing is excellent with Ninja of the Deep Hours. And they might be putting a Ninja in right now. Nope, no Ninja. They're holding up a Counterspell. We do have Thorn. We're not going to be able to play it yet, though. Instead, we're going to hopefully cast down into double Bone Picker. And I'm going to want to actually get rid of the Fairy Seer. Okay, it worked. I wasn't expecting it to work, honestly. I thought they were going to Spell Stutter Sprite. But I needed to play. I needed to play cards. Okay, so we got both our Bone Pickers down. That's going to be a quick clock. 6 damage a turn. That's 4 turns. Oh, Echoing Decay. Yeah, that makes sense. They do play one of these. Good on you, opponent. Good on you. Now it's going to be quite a risk to play Thorn of the Black Rose. They could quite easily kill my creature and take the Monarch, and I wouldn't be able to get it back. But I think that we have to risk it. We're too far behind. We get another Counterspell. Okay, I accept that. We've taken 2 of their Counterspells so far. Ugh, land. Well, we'll put the Crypt Rats onto the field. It's all we have. Another Counterspell. Okay. So we've got 3 Counterspells. They only have 1 left. And we know they have a dead card in hand and Snuff Out. They will be able to get rid of it with a Brainstorm at some point. Now they have a Cast Down, so they'll be able to kill one of our creatures. But if we get Crypt Rats again, we find a Bone Picker. So we can play that into removal spell. Their black mana is tapped currently, so they'll have to play the removal spell on their turn. So we will play it. And there's the Brainstorm. So if they have a way to shuffle, they can get rid of the Snuff Out. Chainer's Edict, we'll cast that. Halves the clock. They've gone through a lot of cards. And Augur of Bolas. So we're going to assume that the Snuff Out is no more. And we get Swamp, so we'll Chainer's Edict them. Okay, we're going to be looking for what? What can we do here? Sign in Blood would let us draw 2 cards and have 5 mana left over. I think that we want Crypt Rats off the top to be able to clear the board. Okay, there's the Ninja. Okay, so we start with Sign in Blood. And they have the Spell Stutter Sprite, so we'll concede. Okay, how are we going to work this? We're going to want Pestilence. We're going to want Suffocating Fumes. They have a lot of 1/1s. Wrench Mind actually seems quite strong as well. We do have the option of Spellbomb, but they only have 2 Gurmag Anglers generally. So the Cast Down and Defile are enough of an answer for the Gurmag Anglers. Cuombajj Witches have good targets, so we'll want to keep those. Thorn of the Black Rose, I think, is a liability in this matchup. They have a lot of flyers, so it'd be easy for them to take the Monarch away. I'll definitely take 1 Thorn out, if not 2. Echoing Decay seems quite good. Chainer's Edict seems quite good. So we do have a lot of good cards here. I'm not seeing a lot of cards we want to take out. We might take out some of our Ragers then. Maybe only bring in 2 Wrench Mind. And maybe only have 1 Thorn of the Black Rose. So we can bring 1 card back in if we take all the Ragers out. Maybe the Wrench Mind. Okay, we'll try this. Yes, definitely would like the play. We have lands and spells. We'll keep this. Let me think here. I think I want to play Swamp and keep the Bojuka Bog for turn 3. That way I have access to Sign in Blood and Wrench Mind on turns 2 and 3. And I can also Defile a Fairy if they play 1 on turn 1. Okay, so this turn I want to Sign in Blood, and next turn I'll Wrench Mind. Okay, Brainstorm, turn 1. They're looking at a Brainstorm lock here. And I know you can't be brainstorming looking for Daze, because that card is banned. I wonder. I haven't checked, and I don't recall. Is Foil banned? Because I know the card was used in conjunction with Daze. Okay, Augur Bolas, no problem. Preordain is the card that they revealed. Another Bojuka Bog. So, I might actually want to Chittering Rats here. And then potentially double Wrench Mind later. And then we'll also have access to Wrench Mind with Defile up. They get a Fairy Seer that dies to either one of our removal spells. But it is pretty good in conjunction with Ninja. I want to keep the Defile up and try and kill the Ninja after a ninjutsu happens. Okay, so we'll start with Wrench Mind. and they get Spell Stutter Sprite. Okay, so the Sprite will resolve, and then we'll Defile the Sprite. The ability will fizzle, and they'll still have to discard 2 cards, so that worked out pretty well for us. And then we'll Bojuka Bog away the graveyard, so they're not able to cast a Gurmag Angler. Okay, they discard Preordain. It has the same art as the one that we saw. We'll Bojuka Bog them. And then pass. And we should be able to Bojuka Bog them again, so that they can't Gurmag Angler for another turn. Costs 7 mana for a Gurmag Angler. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total when we include the graveyard. So we'll Wrench Mind. And if they Spell Stutter Sprite, we have another Decay. So we'll use the Decay, kill the Sprite, and they'll discard their last card, which is a cast down. Bojuka Bog. And we'll look to start using the Grey Merchant next turn. We don't have any good attacks, so we'll hold back. And those 2 pips of Devotion will count for a lot, or they won't count for anything at all. Okay, we'll take 2. Play Grey Merchant. So now they can just attack with the Phyrexian. We cannot attack through the Augur of Bolas, unfortunately. And they found a Ninja. Lucky them. That's pretty much their best draw. It won't hit us again, but they were able to draw a card with it. Phyrexian, 2 cards on top. They like what they see. We found a Chainer's Edict. We have access to 4, 5, 6 mana. So we can do one of the 2 things. I like playing another Grey Merchant, personally. And then we can Chainer's Edict into something else next turn. No attacks. We can't get through the Augur. Okay, so they take the Monarch. That makes sense that they would keep that. They're going to be able to get back into the card advantage after I wrenched their mind. And we just find a land. Unfortunate. We'll get rid of one of their creatures. Okay, they sacrifice their flyer. They must feel quite secure in having the Monarch here. Unfortunate that we took out all of our Thorns of the Black Rose. That would have been the best way for us to take the Monarch back. Maybe we'll get lucky and find one off the top. Otherwise, we'll flashback Chainer's Edict. Actually, I think Crypt Rats would be the best draw right now. We could play Crypt Rats, activate for 3, and then take the Monarch back. Pestilence would be the same thing. So that's 3 good draws out of 44 cards. Okay, Stormbound Geist is quite good against Crypt Rats and Pestilence. We do find the Crypt Rats, though. So we can activate the Crypt Rats for 3 and then take the Monarch. So we'll do that. It does mean that the Stormbound Geist is going to be back bigger than ever, but it cannot block our creatures. So we'll be able to take the Monarch and take some card advantage. Pretty lucky that we got the Crypt Rats there. And if it comes back to it, we can Chainer's Edict the Stormbound Geist away. Although if they have a Ninja, they'll be able to reset it. So let's see if they have Ninja here. Nope, they're just going to do the 3 damage and take the Monarch. Seems good. Okay, so they have a ton of cards in hand. Okay, so Echoing Decay means we do 0 damage. And they still have mana up for Counterspell. I feel like I want to do the Chainer's Edict this turn. And then I'll try and do the Grey Merchant next turn. So I think they're going to have Counterspell here. That doesn't work. Oh, I see. They're sacrificing the Spellstutter Sprite. That's what they're doing. That makes sense. They weren't trying to counter it. Augur of Bolas is a blocker. But I think I still have lethal. Counterspell enter the reveal zone. That's unfortunate. So we know they can counterspell our Grey Merchant. Okay, we find Wrench Mind. That's the perfect draw. I don't think they're going to counter it, though. Oh, they do. They did. Oh, they countered it. They countered it. We win this game. Pretty sure. Okay, let's go to combat. They block 1, take 2, and then we do 6. Okay. They're tapping their snow mana for some reason. All right. Let's see here. I felt pretty bad about having the Thorn of the Black Rose out, actually. I'd like to go back up to 2 of those. And maybe take out one of the Bone Pickers. The Thorn of the Black Rose is going to be one of the best ways for us to take the Monarch back. We have a removal heavy hand here. We are going to keep. So no creature for us to remove turn 1. And we got Chittering Rats ready to go for turn 3. Defile is going to be very good for stopping their Spellstutter Sprites from countering our spells. Okay, Augur of Bolas. We'll use the Chainer's Edict to take that out. What does it reveal? Ponder. Okay, so it replaced itself with a Ponder. We'll go to our turn and use the Chainer's Edict. Okay, so they're going for the Swamp and Ponder. Okay, so we find Thorn of the Black Rose. I think we want to use the Chittering Rats here, so that means untapped land. We would like to get the Thorn of the Black Rose down, but we have to be very careful about it against this deck. Who knows, they could be taking this turn to play a Thorn of their own. No, it just looks like removal spell. And they have counter magic up with 4 cards in hand. Let's see if we can draw a Wrench Mind. We don't. But we do have Thorn. This is tricky. Do we play the Thorn into their counterspell? I mean, we've already played the untapped land, so I kind of feel like we do. If we had played the Bojuka Bog, we could have gotten rid of their graveyard. I think that would have also been quite strong. We have 2 removal cards to keep the Monarch on our side, and Cuombajj Witches is going to be nice to kill their flyers. But if they have Stormbound Geist here, it's going to be hard to hold on to. Okay, so no Geist, and they have Cast Down. We don't care too much about the Cast Down here. Second creature, that's quite good. And they reveal Counterspell, so we're going to be playing around that. Wrench Mind, fantastic. They can't do anything about that this turn. So I would like to play a removal spell and Wrench Mind. So let's start with Wrench Mind. Okay, they discard Dispel and Cast Down. So we want to play the Bojuka Bog, but we're going to play the Chainer's Edict first. So they'll have to kill our Thorn in order to take the Monarch away. And we get their Chainer's Edict out of the graveyard. They're not going to be able to play a Gurmag Angler anymore. But if they take the Monarch away this turn, it's going to be hard for us to get it back. Okay, so they took it. They have Counterspell up. And we find Crypt Rats. Okay. I think I'm going to want to start with Sign in Blood. See if they counter this. They don't. Okay. We do not find land, but we're going to play the Witches. I think they pretty much have to counter this now. Okay. And we have no more plays. I could Defile the Augur. I'm not sure if that's the right play, though. I have Crypt Rats to potentially take care of it later. And if they try and switch it out with a Ninja, then I can Defile the Ninja. Okay, they find a Terramorphic Expanse, so they're able to shuffle their Brainstorm. And they play Stormbound Geist. Unfortunate. This is going to be difficult to deal with, especially with them having the Monarch. Let me think here. So if I Defile the Stormbound Geist and then draw Swamp, I can wipe their board, but, and a big but here, that doesn't get me the Monarch back. Okay, that's nice. So I could Defile the Augur, play the Bone Picker, and the Crypt Rats. I have to play Defile if I want to play Bone Picker. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have 5 mana, so I could play Defile, Crypt Rats, and Bone Picker. Or I could play... I could also play Witches, Crypt Rats. Kind of like Defile the Augur, play Bone Picker, play Witches. Or I could just play Grey Merchant. I don't really like that. And I also don't like playing anything else when I'm playing Crypt Rats. And we'll pass. So if they don't kill the Witches, they can't block it. So we can maybe take the Monarch back. And if we block their Stormbound Geist, then we can potentially kill it on our turn with the Crypt Rats. But again, we would need to draw a land for that to work. I'm more interested in playing Grey Merchant after Grey Merchant here. So we need to draw. We need to evade creature and removal spell here. Okay, no attacks. So we need to dodge removal spell. We get Bojuka Bog. I think we attack first. It looks like it worked. It worked! Okay, we got the Monarch back. Play Bojuka Bog. Probably wanted to wait till after the Grey Merchant on that, but I don't think it really matters. And we'll play Grey Merchant. So that's going to meet a counterspell. So we could have got that counterspell out of the graveyard as well. Now if they attack with Geist, we are going to block. We want to hold on to the Monarch. We don't want them getting it. And we can try and kill the Stormbound Geist this turn and get it off the field for good. Thorn of the Black Rose does take the Monarch back. We're going to be able to Crypt Rats and wipe the field, but they're going to be able to keep the Monarch. Not much of a reason to attack with the Witches. Not much of a reason not to. So they'll block with a Thorn. Doesn't really matter. Play Crypt Rats for 3 and then activate for 3. Play Bojuka Bog. But they have the Monarch for at least another 2 turns. Do we have a Chainer's Edict in here? We do. And they got an Augur. So we're going to be playing Grey Merchant and hopefully playing a Chainer's Edict to clear their field. It looks like they whiffed on the Augur. But they're still drawing cards with that Monarch. Oh, we got a Wrench Mind. How many? We got 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect. So we can Wrench Mind into Grey Merchant. Okay, they discard 2 lands. We'll play a creature. So most of their removal spells will not hit Grey Merchant. They have Cast Down and Chainer's Edict to hit it. They've got another Stormbound Geist, so that'll be able to keep stealing the Monarch back and forth. It means the Chainer's Edict will no longer hit the Augur of Bolas as well. So we will not be able to take the Monarch back. But we do find a Wrench Mind. So we can just do this again. Okay, we got land, Spellstutter Sprite. They're left with 1 card in hand. And unfortunately, like I was saying, our Chainer's Edicts are only going to grow their Stormbound Geist in power. So I'm not interested in that life right now. Okay, they go for second Swamp. Looking for removal spells, I imagine, for our Grey Merchants. They went top or bottom, probably top the Ponder. Yep, come in for 2. No surprises. They'll have 3 cards in hand. Tapping black mana. Do they have a removal spell here? Nope, they have the Gurmag Angler. So once again, They've got walls up. We cannot attack. We need a removal spell. We might be looking at using the Chainer's Edict anyway, so that we can cast a second Chainer's Edict to clear out a creature. Oh, we found Cast Down. That's perfect. Let's just go ahead and cast down the Angler. We just need to avoid counterspell here. Fantastic. We'll attack with all. They have a Spell Stutter Sprite, so they're able to block both our creatures. And that's going to be all for our turn. We can't flashback Chainer's Edict with only 5 mana. Okay, so they're making a ninja. That's going to be drawing more cards for them. They do draw a lot of cards. Ah, Swamp. That's unfortunate. I think I still do an attack in. They can't block with Stormbound Geist, so we might steal the Monarch here. No, it looks like they have another critter. Or a removal spell. They Agony Warp. Okay. Now they're going to be able to block one with the Augur of Bolas, and the other one isn't going to do any damage. We're going to go ahead and Chainer's Edict here. We have another Edict in the graveyard, so we can get rid of a card next turn. But it's looking grim. It's looking real grim. The opponent has had the Monarch for several turns, so they've drawn several more cards than us. And being able to attack with the Ninja of the Deep Hours here is quite good for them. Surprising they didn't attack with the Stormbound Geist. It doesn't block. We just get another land here. And they Spell Stutter Sprite, so they'll just be able to sacrifice that instead. So we're going to concede here. They've got too much value on us, but it was a good game. Playing against Mulclay. Okay, so we have 2 lands. We have Removal Spell and Bone Picker. I'm gonna take the risky keep and hope that we draw lands, or hope that they produce a creature that we can kill into Bone Picker. It looks like we're playing a run back here, although they could be Izzet. They could be Izzet, but I think the Dimir deck is more in fashion right now, so it's more likely Dimir. Okay, we find our 3rd land. Very good. Land go. And if we're lucky enough for them to cast a creature that we can defile, then we can put a Bone Picker down. So hoping for land fairy. Oh, we're wrong. This is the run back of the first match that we played. So we're playing against familiars. Removal spells will still be very important, as well as Bojuka Bog. But we're going to hold on to the Bojuka Bog for now, till we can get some real value from it. If we can get a Ghostly Flicker, for example, that's going to be the kind of card we're going to want to hit. Alright, there's a Mole Drifter, so that's going into the graveyard. Now that's the kind of card that we want to hit. We might consider using the Bojuka Bog to take the Mole Drifter out of the graveyard. Get another removal spell. So I think I'm going to Bog now. It is an early Bog, but it gets the Mole Drifter out of the yard. And then we'll pass. Okay, so they're going to Ash Barrens, probably get an island. No, Snow-Covered Plains. Okay. It looks like they're passing again. Okay, so we're just going to hard cast a Bone Picker. It does mean that they're free to play a wall this turn and kind of go ham. But if they do that, we'll kill their wall on our turn and play a cheap Bone Picker. No, looks like they're just passing back. Get a land here. We do. Fantastic. So we'll attack for 3, play another Bone Picker. Okay. And we'll hold up Defile. Oh, it looks like they have a counter spell. Yep, they got Prohibit, so they can stop our spell. Prohibit, very flexible counterspell in Pauper. It only costs a single blue, so you're able to play it in these 2-color decks quite easily, and it counters most things. It won't counter a Grey Merchant, but it will counter a Bone Picker. Okay, we get another land. We've got enough land and removal spells, thank you. Like some Sign in Bloods, please. We'll just pass. Okay, they're putting down the Chaomancer, which will take the Prohibit back. And we're going to want to hold up the removal spells to kill the Archaeomancer if they try and blink it. Otherwise, we'll leave it there. It's not much of a clock. Oh, the Chainer's Edict changes that. We are going to cast the Chainer's Edict. We have removal spell backup. And this is sorcery speed, so let's try and get rid of that Archaeomancer now. They're going to snap it, so we're going to defile it, or we'll cast it down. The Defile will kill anything anyways, so we'll hold on to those. They do not get to untap the lands because their spell fizzled, and then we'll attack for 3. So the Bone Picker is doing a good job of being a clock, much like Delver of Secrets. If you haven't seen this card before, it was recently downgraded to common, and it's the reason why I'm playing this deck. Okay, so they're going to return the Snap to hand. I'm going to let them do that and try and defile their Archaeomancer at a later point. But they might be snapping our Bone Picker. Okay, we get another Chainer's Edict. So do we run that into the Snap is a question. I think that we first attack and see if they're going to snap our Bone Picker. Okay, they do. They're going to untap the Chantry lands. I'm going to want to try and Edict the Archaeomancer. I'm not going to waste my my instance yet. We know they have Prohibit in hand as well. Okay, they're going to snap the Archaeomancer back to hand. They have 4 mana, so they can counter our spell. I'm going to fight over this. I think I can win. Okay, they're going to Prohibit. That's fine. We'll cast down. Okay, Prohibit's fine. Snap fizzles. Chainer's Edict does nothing. And we cast Bone Picker. Seagate Oracle is fine. As in, it's a fine card. It does a great impression of a Sleight of Hand. Okay, they've got the Deep Analysis tech. We're really going to be looking for a Bojuka Bog off the top. I I think that would be the best draw. We get cast down instead. So we'll attack for 3 and then play Grey Merchant. And we still have Defile up, although we'll have to be very careful about casting it. They could very easily have another spell, a counterspell, flicker spell to get value, and fizzle our spell. Okay, flashing back Deep Analysis puts them to 2. It's an interesting choice to put themselves so low. They need to kill the Bone Picker now. They need to deal with it. They might already have a snap, or they could be looking for it. So chose to shuffle. Okay, God Pharaoh. We can defile that. I would rather defile the Sunscape Familiar, though. But if they do nothing, then we just attack. So we have to wait. They have the flicker. They're going to flicker the Seagate Oracle and an island. So we're going to defile the Sunscape Familiar. And hope they don't have another Prohibit. They don't. So they'll gain the life, but they won't be able to flicker again. They're at 3, so that's ideal. We just need to fade 1 spell. We did. Okay. Excellent. We won game 1. That's the tough one. So we definitely want Spellbomb to take out their graveyard. We take out Suffocating Fumes for sure. Now, what they're going to be doing is drawing just a ton of cards and putting a huge field of creatures onto the battlefield. We're going to want Pestilence as an extra card to combat that. The question is, do we want to play with Wrench Mind or Duress? I definitely want to keep the Okiba-Gang Shinobi. The Thorn of the Black Rose is fantastic. Bone Picker was really pulling its weight there. Crypt Rats is a definite yes. Chainer's Edict feels fairly weak as far as our removal spells go. I wouldn't mind taking out one of those. The Cuombajj Witches can both go. They have no X1s. And then I could take out some number of Ragers so that I could play Wrenchmind. Take out the last Rager and play a Duress. Okay, this is how we're going to play it. We've kept quite a few removal spells. Their creatures are very important. So we got 3 lands, removal spells, and a Wrench Mind we're going to keep. Okay, we find a Thorn. Very good. We're going to be looking to Wrench Mind on our second turn, just for mana efficiency's sake. Okay, so they got their white land as well, but it looks like they're making no plays. So they could have Prohibit up. I think I'm fine with trading Wrench Mind for Prohibit if that's what happens. Nope, they're discarding. Excellent. So we get Snap and Flicker. So we're really going to be looking for Bojuka Bog now to be able to take those cards out of the graveyard. Those are 2 of the best cards they have. So I'm pretty sure they're going to have Archaeomancer for the next turn. Okay, so the Seagate Oracle means we can defile that or cast it down. Which way do we go here? I'm leaning towards Defile, even though it costs less mana. We have a second one, and the cast down can hit things that Defile currently can't. We're just going to take this off the board and pass. If they play another card here, we can kill it with cast down and then play Thorn of the Black Rose. Okay, it looks like they're instead holding up counter magic. I'm not sure if this deck plays actual factual counterspell. We didn't see that last game. We only saw Prohibit. So I'm going to try the Thorn of the Black Rose and see if we can get the Monarch. It works. So now our job is to hold on to the Monarch as long as possible. That's the most important thing. The Bojuka Bog here is excellent. They might be able to save one of their cards if they are Chaomancer this turn. They play Pirates instead. They create 2 treasure tokens. Okay, this is not a card that I've seen played in Pauper before, but it's quite cool. Okay, we're going to want to Defile that and then play Bojuka Bog. That will leave us with 3 mana. We could also cast it down. I think the other card we're going to want to play is Sign in Blood, so I think we want to do Sign in Blood first, and then cast down the Pirate, depending on what we draw. Finally, we'll play Bojuka Bog in order to get rid of their graveyard. We get both the Ghostly Flicker and the Snap. And we've held on to the Monarch for another turn. So the Chittering Rats are going to be excellent to hamstring our opponent. They're going to be putting cards from their hand back on top of their library, which means they're going to be skipping their draw step. Sunscape Familiar here, they're going to be able to take advantage of that if they have any spells, but I intend on defiling it on my turn after Chittering Rats. They do have 3 mana available. I have to watch that. So they could counter the Defile. I'm going to start with Chittering Rats and see what happens. If they counter that, then I can Defile the Sunscape Familiar. Okay, they put a card back. So the question is, do I want to Defile it? I'm going to take a moment to think about that while I attack with Thorn of the Black Rose. Because I could Chittering Rats again, and that would put them quite far behind. I think I'm going to risk it. Oh, hey there, handsome. Thanks for dropping by. We're going to go with the Chittering Rats plan and try and really hamstring them. And draw another card. They won't be able to attack with the Sunscape Familiar, so we hold on to the Monarch for another turn. Handsome says they know nothing about Pauper. It is, in my opinion, the greatest format of Magic. We can talk about it in detail. I love the format so much. We're going to go for an attack here. I feel like it has some of the idea of the color pie is very present in Pauper. So you have cards that are inherently black cards, or cards that are like inherently blue. Seagate Oracle is a great example. Sleight of hand on a creature. We're going to try a Grey Merchant here. They're not going to be able to counter that. And we'll play Grey Merchant next turn and win the game. We've held on to the Monarch the whole time. Yeah, it looks like those 2 Chittering Rats were exactly what we wanted. So we'll just play land and play Grey Merchant, and that should win. Okay. This has lands and creatures we're going to keep. 3 lands is the number of lands that we like in our opening hands. And it looks like we're against Burn, which is our worst matchup. So this is going to go quick. We're going to end 3-2 today. But let's see if we can go for the upset and beat the Burn deck. Okay, yeah, Rift Bolt's on the stack, down to 17. Do you have a creature to play? Kind of hoping you have a creature to play. No, it's Curse of the Pierced Heart. Nothing we can do about that. I am going to have to check and see if that new black removal spell is common or uncommon. The one that kills creatures and enchantments. We're going to play the Witches here. And I don't think we're going to be activating them. If we turn these Witches sideways, it's going to be for attacks. We don't want to be doing damage to ourselves. We're taking enough as is. Okay, they skewer. We're already at half our life total. Don't worry, this is going to be... Yeah, that's the one. What's the name of that card? Okay, Bojuka Bog is going to be of no use. We're going to use Chainer's Edict here. Oops. No, cancel that. I want Chittering Rats. That's what I wanted. So that'll slow them down a little bit. But we are on the back foot here. Okay, I'm going to 6 and take a look at what that card is. Because I know I own the card. It's in another deck. I just can't remember what the card is called. Okay, it's called Feed the Swarm, and it is common. So that's going to be going into the sideboard of this deck. For sure. Okay, let's see here. I mean, what can we do, honestly? Let's attack for 3. Because we're dead to the Curse of the Pierced Heart. I should just really be scooping it up, but let's go ahead and play Chittering Rats, because Chittering Rats are great. We like playing Magic. Have a Bojuka Bog. Go ahead. Oh, Gary off the top if they don't have the kill here. Okay, the Searing Blaze does 1, and Curse of the Pierced Heart does 1, so we are dead. But it did get close there, right? We could have top-decked the Gary. Let's draw a card and see. Okay, it was another Witches. It was a Witches. Never look. So let's see, what can we do? What can we do? We have access to Duress and Wrench Mind. And we're going to want to take out cards that deal us damage. So we're going to want to take out the Crypt Rats and the Phyrexian Ragers. Suffocating Fumes isn't going to do anything besides be a cycling card. And we want to take out the Witches and the Sign in Blood. So we're going to have to put some cards back in. I don't think anything else does damage to us. Okay, so we need to consider what's important here. We need to kill the opponent. So we are going to need creatures. We'll bring the Phyrexian Ragers back in. And then it's between Spellbomb cantrips. Yeah, it does. So does Suffocating Fumes. Has cycling. So it's between these two. I think the Spellbomb might be slightly better because I can break it up between 2 turns. So I think we're going to run this. The only things that cost us life seem to be the Phyrexian Ragers, and they only cost us 1. We have removal spells for their creatures, but we're not really going to be looking for many of those. And unfortunately, I wasn't thinking about the... I wasn't thinking about Feed the Swarm when I built this deck, so we don't have access to that. 1 land is not good. We're going to mulligan. We get 2 lands, removal spells, creatures, Okiba-Gang, we're going to keep and try. We don't have as many as we would like, but Chittering Rats is the main thing. So we have some pips. We're going to take out probably the Okiba-Gang. We're pretty far off from using it. And we'll keep up removal spells. just in case they have some of their creatures. Okay, Rift Bolt has been revealed. We get removal spell, and we're missing on lands here, so we need to draw a land on our turn. So one of the things that I've been considering is starting my stream 1 hour later. I get very few viewers during my first hour, hour and a half, and views start to pick up after that. So I'm wondering how any of you feel about that. Would it be a problem if I started later? Do we have any viewers that stuck with me from 6 o'clock? We do find a land, but it's a tapped land. I guess we play it. Handsome asks, who's up that early? I've been up for several hours by that time. I get up at 10 p.m. to go to work. And then we also have people all through the world, so I don't know where people are viewing from. Another Curse of the Pure Start. Those are going to be doing quite a bit of damage over the course of the game because they've got them so early. And another Rift Bolt is exiled. Handsome says, they may not know how to hang with Mr. Cooper. Well, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get some people to hang out and watch some cool games of Magic. So I actually want to start with the Chittering Rats to put a card on top of their library rather than the Rager, which will drain me life. The reason I might want to play the Rager is to potentially draw another land, but they both have the same number of power. This one has more pips. Got something weird going on with my chat here. I think that I've been disconnected a couple times. Something that I've heard that some other streamers have had problems with. So I might have missed any messages. Last thing I saw is that Handsome thinks some people might not know how to hang with Mr. Cooper. Okay, there we go. There's the Thermo Alchemist. So we're going to be able to use a removal spell. We can cast down into Bone Picker, which will give us a nice clock. And we get Duress, so we can do all the things. Oh, but now that I think about it, Defile is not going to kill the Alchemist. We only have 2 swamps. Our third land is a bog, so good thing we caught ourselves there. We can Edict to start. And then we have the choice of Duress or Bone Picker. Duress helps us not die. Bone Picker helps us kill the opponent. We need to be doing damage. I'm going to play the Bone Picker, and hopefully we'll still have a card left to Duress next turn. But this is just the perfect opportunity to play the bird. Yup. How many more spells you got, bro? You got 2 cards in hand. What you got? Okay, this puts us to 4. No land, so we're pretty hopeless at this point. Let's take a look at what we're up against. Might have been a mistake. I probably should have played Rager first to try and get the land. Interesting that they didn't play it. Why didn't they play the spike last turn? That doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't they play the spike? Are they toying with us? I don't get it. Doesn't matter. Maybe they're just waiting for the Curse of the Pierced Heart to kill us. They think they don't even have to cast spells. And they would be right, by the way. There's nothing else we can do. We're going to play the Phyrexian Rager, put ourselves at 1. And pass. And that's the match. We got 2 cards in hand, play a land, and what else you got? If they're playing a creature, I'm going to kill it. Oh, they Fire Blast us. Good job, opponent. Sacrifice 2 mana. Sacrifice 2 mountains, does 4 damage to any target. So we ended up 3-2, which is fine. We had some interesting games. Played against the Familiars deck twice, which was pretty fun. Played against Elves and actually won. And then we lost against the Dimir Control and Burn. Burn is pretty much an unwinnable matchup. I think I maybe won against Burn a single time in all the times that I've played. And that was back when we used to run life gain cards. We had, what was that card called? Some Tendrils of Corruption, which would give us life equal to our swamps in play. So that's how we could steal a game from Burn. But it cost 4 mana, so Burn would generally still just kill us. Okay. So that's what we got for today. I'm going to take a quick second here, and we'll take a peek at the deck. Let's change the screen. Okay. So we should be able to look at the deck now. Here we go. This is what I was running today. If I were to make some changes, I would like to add 1 more land and go up to 23. I've seen some people play Witch's Cottage, and I think that would be a great addition to the deck. But personally, I love the Bojuka Bog. So that's the reason why I've been doing it. And we ran into 2 Familiars decks today, so the Bog was really doing a lot of work. I definitely liked this configuration over what we were playing on Tuesday. The small changes of bringing in the Phyrexian Rager and the Ninja and taking out the Skeletons and the Gurmag Anglers, I thought worked quite well. If we had been playing against Stompy, then it would have been a different story. And speaking of Stompy, we are going to be playing an iteration of this deck next week. I'm not saying that this is going to be the list, but this is going to be the deck that we're going to play. It's a very low to the ground, aggressive creature deck. So we're going to be playing, surprisingly, Quirion Ranger, but it's going to give us a ton of mana. Wild Mongrel, Burning Tree Emissary, Nest Invader, Volt Scourge, which is quite good if you pair it with a Rancor. Vines of Vastwood to protect our creatures, and Savage Swipe, which is actually a removal spell as well as a buff spell. For a single mana, this works with almost every creature in our deck, and it's going to pump our creature, kill the creature, and then we can swing in for a huge amount of damage that turn. Anyways, I'm going to do some research and see what I want to change, but this is going to be the basic list, and we might make a couple changes. I will be playing tomorrow. We'll be playing 8 Shadow Prowess tomorrow, and then next week I'll be starting 1 hour later at 7 a.m., and we'll try that. and I'll be playing Stompy, and I'll probably be playing this deck again next week. I just love it that much. Anyways, thanks a lot for stopping by, and I hope you all have a great day. Cheers.